I'm Joseph Toscano, the convener of Public Housing Everybody's Business. I'd like you all to come along to a very special event. Drug-free, alcohol-free, but you need to get up early. 6 a.m, 6th of February, here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament House. Become the Victorian opposition. Join the Public Housing Everybody's Business Vigil every Wednesday, starting on February the 6th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. See you there. Public Housing Everybody's Business. Secure, safe public housing for everybody who wants it in Victoria. This is the Parliament of Victoria. This is Parliament House, which you can just see here, which has been currently cleaned up again. Unfortunately, only the outside is being cleaned up, not the inside, okay? It's only the outside. It's like, when you've got visitors coming, you kind of clean everything up, but it's the same rod behind the clean. It's been cleaned up, who knows what price. But this was first established, the colony of Victoria was first established in 1835. The Legislative Council, which was the upper house, was basically dominated by the squatters. And by the 1850s, early 1850s, 700 squatters owned every inch of Victoria. They had removed the original inhabitants in the most brutal way, poisoning, murder, public executions, so they could have their sheep runs on this land. So this is the beginning. Now in 1854, during the Eureka Rebellion, wasn't about mining licences. It was basically about access to land. All these new migrants had come into Australia, into Victoria, looking for gold. Most of them didn't get any gold. It's a little bit like getting a Tats Lotto ticket. You usually don't win the big prize. And they wanted access to land. The squatters refused to sell them the land. The Eureka Revolt ended in a defeat initially, but it was a victory for the rebels. The laws to Parliament were changed. Universal male suffrage was introduced in 1855. It wasn't until about 1903 that female suffrage was introduced. But the Legislative Council was still dominated by the squatters, who refused to pass legislation which weakened their hold on control of the land. They wanted freehold title to the land they had squatted. Just down the road here, 50 metres away, was the Eastern Markets. An alternative parliament was established there for 10 years. And for 10 years, that alternative parliament met on a delegate system. What they did is they went around Victoria. Delegates were appointed to come to the Parliament, the Eastern Markets, and discuss the question of access to land. While these people blocked it. In 1861, there were huge riots here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament House. Every window was broken. A number of people were killed by the police and their bodies dragged away. So these steps are soaked in blood. Today, in 2018, we are faced with the same dilemma. It's not about access to land, it's about access to housing. Over the last 40 years, housing has become a commodity. Housing prices have increased by over 500%, while wages have increased by less than 150%. We've now got this ridiculous situation where working people cannot get access to housing. We're down the road here in Bourke Street. We have homeless people begging on the streets, living rough, having no access to facilities, lumped into a so-called Salvation Army cafe here in Bourke Street, shucked out at 6 a.m. to wander the streets. And we're told there is no money to deal with homelessness. We've got a government which for the last 4 years has been attempting to privatise what is left of the public housing system. When public housing was introduced in Victoria in the 1940s, it was introduced for one reason: to provide secure, low-cost accommodation to people who could not afford to purchase in the private marketplace. It wasn't there just for desperate cases. In 2018, the only people who have access to public housing is people in desperate situation, abused women, women with children who are homeless. There's hardly any accommodation for homeless men. and this is the cause of the policy of privatisation. Now, at the end of November, we held a 10-day continuous protest here on public housing, everybody's business. We were here for 10 days to the election on the 24th of November, despite harassment by the authority, despite harassment by the police, despite a lack of interest by both the social media and the legacy media. We held these steps for 10 days promoting the issue of public housing. So why is public housing important in 2018? One, most people in our society, 70% of Victorians, are spending between 35 and 50% of their income paying rent or paying off a mortgage. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine how much good would be done in the economy if that amount of money was used, some of that money was used to actually buy stuff, right? Two, young people burdened by heads debts cannot access the private marketplace. They cannot buy a home unless, like the former Prime Minister Mr Turnbull said, they had the bank of mum and dad on their side. You got no bank of mum and dad, you don't get a house. You can have two, you can have a couple working. They still haven't got enough money for a deposit. So they're forced to rent. When people are forced to rent and there is no public housing, rents increase. So rents in Victoria are quite extraordinary. Although 33% of the population live with social security benefits, people are paying 50 to 60% of their social security benefit on rent. And if you're on a new start allowance, you basically have to look for a shared accommodation. There is no way you can rent anything. A one-bedroom hovel is about $250 a week. When you think that a disability support pension, the best pension in this country, is about $1,000 a fortnight, that's 50% of your income on rent, and that includes rent assistance from the Commonwealth Government. Now, over the last 10 years, we've had an extraordinary boom in real estate prices, not based on the idea that houses have improved, but based on the concept of speculation and housing prices increasing year after year. And this has occurred because we live in a country where you get a tax benefit for owning more than one house. Isn't that wonderful? If you've got enough money to buy two homes, you can get a tax deduction. It's called negative gearing if you own more than one house. So housing prices are artificially elevated as 1 million Australians, many retired, have entered the housing market as a speculative venture in order to make money for themselves in their retirement. You've got people with 10, 20, 30 houses who pay no tax legally because they use the current system. So what that means is that ordinary people who are in insecure part-time work, casual work, full-time work cannot get their foot in the housing market. And late last year, over 50% of sales at auction went to investors. So you've got young couples trying to get property competing with investors. It's impossible. So something has to give. Something has to give. So what we're suggesting is that public housing is everybody's business. And I'll tell you why it's everybody's business. If you've got a strong public housing sector, you've got competition in the marketplace. What it means is that, say, 10, 15, 20% of Victorians live in secure public housing for 25% of their income. It means that less people need to rent. Less people need to rent, rents drop. More people can rent affordable accommodation. As rents drop, investors leave the property market, so property prices at the lower end drop, and that means young people can actually buy a property with the help of their mum and dad or their local nice, friendly banker. Okay? That's a joke, so what are we going to do? I mean, I can stand here in the sun, it's a beautiful day, look down Berg Street, smell the coffee, look at the tourists here who are gathering here to look at the wonderful Victorian Parliament and say, woe is me, and that's the end of it. No, we need to make a campaign. Forget about the state election. It led to a Labor government being re-elected, a government that wants to privatise public housing. So we need to become the opposition. There is no opposition in that parliament. There is no opposition in that parliament. None whatsoever. There is no opposition. There never has been any opposition, especially now with a Liberal National Party which finds itself in a situation where it hasn't got the numbers, and a cross-bench in the upper house, which is full of conservatives and reactionaries. We need some real opposition in this state, and we are the opposition. We will become the opposition. We will put pressure on Victorian Parliament, both in the upper house and the lower house, to actually take the issue of public housing seriously. That's what we need to do. Because if public housing is taken seriously, we can resolve many issues in our society. Last year, $6 billion was collected from stamp duty. Stamp duty is a tax which is levied by the state government, Victorian state government, on people who buy a home. Before you can complete that contract, you have to pay your stamp duty up front. It is the cost of paying a house. If that $6 billion is allocated to public housing, you can house 100,000 Victorians every year in public housing. You can do it tomorrow. You can get rid of homelessness in a month. You don't have to wait for big building projects to the private sector. You spot purchase homes across the state. You spot purchase homes across the state. You can spot purchase 20 to 25,000 units or homes across Victoria, including regional centres, for $5 billion, and use the other $1 billion for running costs. We can house. This is not a monetary problem. It's not a financial problem. It's a political problem. It's a social problem. So what happens if we house people in public housing? It means that poorer people, people on low wages, their children can access education. They don't have to move every year because the landlord wants to sell the house or wants to increase the rent. They can stay at the same school. They can benefit from a public education. It means that you can go to the same sporting clubs. You can go to the same shops. You can form friendships with other kids. And the thing is, when you're a child, if you remember, those of us who are old enough to remember, is that what was important to us was not what we ate, what we wore, but our friends, who we played with, the sporting clubs we were in, the social clubs we were in, what we did. That was what was important to us. And if you've got to rely on rental accommodation, and over 35% of Victorians rent, and many of them with children, you don't have that security. You cannot build up those social networks. So public housing not only provides affordable housing, secure housing, it also provides stable housing. And you don't have to build huge monstrosities in the suburbs. You can spot purchase. In the 1980s and 1990s, the Victorian government spot purchased properties around Victoria and put public tenants in these homes in normal, ordinary communities, which mean these people form bonds. Instead of creating potential ghettos, people were part of a network and a community. And I have many patients, being a doctor, in public housing that are spot purchased, and they have great lives because they become part of that community. If they've got problems, sometimes they get some assistance from that community. So the issue is very simple. Public housing needs to be put back on the political agenda. And it's not going to be put back by the legacy media. It's not going to be put back by social media. It's not going to be put back by members of the Legislative Council or the opposition or the Australian Labor Party. It's going to be put back on that agenda by you. We have decided public housing everybody's business, which is an initiative of public interest before corporate interest. We have decided that from the 6th of February at 6 a.m, that's right, 6 a.m, folks, we will be here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament from 6 a.m. to 8:30, 9 a.m. every Wednesday morning to act as a conscience, to bring back the issue of public housing into the public realm. And why 6 a.m? At 6 a.m, all those homeless people that are housed in temporary, unsuitable accommodation by religious organisations down this street, are forced out into the city because they don't want people around when the commuters come in. And we will be standing here when the commuters come into work, from Parliament Station, from the trams, walking to their work, walking to their offices, walking to the Paris end of Collins Street, to buy their Gucci, and Dior. We will be here, and we will do this for a number of weeks to gauge support, because we need to, by using our bodies, put this issue back fairly and squarely on the public agenda. An election means nothing. Nothing has changed regarding public housing. Nothing has changed regarding this government's policies to privatise public housing. Nothing has changed regarding the opposition's policies to privatise public housing. We are the opposition, and we are to ourselves, we are to our children, we are to our grandchildren, we are to each and every Victorian to put public housing back on the parliamentary agenda in this state, because the benefits are enormous. Strong public housing sector, reduced rents. Strong public housing sector, reduced prices for entry-level housing for young couples. Strong public housing sector, increased social cohesion, less violence, less family conflict, because people don't have to worry about where they're going to live. Better education for children, better environment for children. It is a win-win situation. And what's extraordinary is that in 2019, that people don't even think of public housing as something that's an acceptable form of accommodation. For years, public housing has been denigrated. Public tenants has been humiliated. Public tenants have been marginalised. And this is part of a plan to get Victorians to think that public housing is for the down and outs, the desperates, drug addicts, people who can't make it. The reality is, the people that are left in public housing today, as 3% of the Victorian population, elderly people, people with psychiatric difficulties, people who have been abused in older life or younger life. These are the people who require public housing. And people say, why don't we give it to the private sector? Why don't we give it to the community and affordable housing sector? Well, they have private organisations, whether they're for profit or not for profit. Their business is to keep their business afloat, to pay their workers, to increase the size of their empire. Privatising public housing through the community and social housing sector will not resolve the problem of homelessness or housing security. Look at the billions of dollars that are given to private organisations, many religious-based, to deal with homelessness, and everywhere in this country there are homeless people and their numbers are growing. I'm Joseph Toscano, the convener of Public Housing Everybody's Business. I'd like you all to come along to a very special event. Drug-free, alcohol-free, but you need to get up early. 6 a.m, 6th of February, here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament House. Become the Victorian opposition. Join the Public Housing Everybody's Business Vigil every Wednesday, starting on February the 6th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. See you there. Public Housing Everybody's Business. Secure, safe public housing for everybody who wants it in Victoria.